One basically at the kitchen, cari orang masak. Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Apa khabar semua? How are you, guys?
Hello.
Morning. Okay, sihat. Sabah, how are you, Sabah? I think Sabah, how are you? Are you here? Okay, before we start, today I'm going to complete the last time. We're going to continue our discussion from last week, which is, if you remember last week, what basically the last thing that we discussed. Anyone can share with me what basically you remembered based on last week meeting? Ingat tak? Did you remember the last thing that we discussed from last week class? Anyone? Hello? Akmal, remember tak Allah dia tulis? Akmal, kita lupa ni. Can anyone try to recall before I continue our session, our, spring session today? What basically you remember regarding last week class? Because last...
Introduction of new product often fail.
Sorry?
Introduction of new product often fail. Understanding what customer needs.
Lagi?
Yang tu je lah.
Itu je? My goodness. Okay, we having like more than 1 hour class and then you just give the point within 30 seconds. Can anyone basically try to remember it? Guys, nak raya ke ni? Semua dah lupa. Faris Marijan, will you please recall what we have studied last week? Faris, are you there? Faris Marijan. Calling for Faris Marijan.
Yes, doctor.
You forgot? My goodness. Why did you forgot? Okay, I just call another one. Rifat. Rifat. Hello, Rifat. Are you there? Calling for Rifat. Forgot to. My goodness. Farhan. Farhan. Muhammad Farhan.
Yes, doctor.
Yes. Would you please share what basically we learned last week?
Last week, we learned about technology push and market pull.
Okay, other than that, what else?
And
what, Farhan? Nurul Izzah. Okay, by the way, in the meantime, I want everyone who still do not upload your profile picture, please do so. Okay, now please update your profile picture. Okay, come on. My goodness. Riwe, can you actually share with me what basically we learned last week?
What I remember is how to identify the customer need and then understand about the concept of technology push and market pull And then about setting pricing strategy.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much, Riwe. So that's actually what we have learned. So today we're going to continue with that topic. Okay, at least you try to remember, and then you try to actually put yourself as a manager why these kind of things, this aspect are important, particularly in formulating your technology strategy. Okay, even though you actually focus on the product development, but you cannot ignore, you cannot simply omit the importance of marketing aspect, or perhaps understanding the customer needs. Okay, having said that, okay, mana kita last week. So I'm going to continue because I want everybody to remember what we have learned last week. So basically, this is the last thing that we learned. Remember this slide? Okay, this is basically the last thing that we discussed. We had a class discussion whereby I actually asked everybody, okay, how much will you put the price for these two products? And then, yes, we already discussed regarding this, and then you have mentioned about the price. So having said that, when we try to look into how we want to, what we call it, determine the price of a particular product, there are several factors that need to be taken into consideration. Okay, so this is very important because people or customers are very sensitive to price. Okay, sometimes even though, okay, especially during Raya festival, like Raya, or perhaps like any kind of festival season. So as you can see that they're going to make like an aggressive promotion. Okay, so customer will be attracted to that. So regardless what kind of product, okay. So if you look here, okay, when the moment the Luffy, please silent, please. Okay, so the moment you actually want to introduce or launch a product, you must really consider about the price. Okay, how the timing of the company's entry into the market will affect what customer will pay for the new product, which is very important. Okay, because sometimes you need to understand when you want to launch the product into the market, is it many competitors available in the market? If yes, most probably you need to offer an attractive price. Meanwhile, if you're actually offering something that's totally novel, and then not so many competitors offering similar kind of product or solution, so this is where you can put the price, a better price. So the market in which one is selling the product or service, how product are paid for in the industry. So that's why it's very important for you to do this kind of market survey, including what price basically being charged by your competitors. So you need to actually benchmark their price and try to put what we call it a price that quite competitive to the customers. When we talk about pricing, normally there are a few ways that we actually put the price. I mean, the most what we call it, the most common way that we actually do basically, we actually based on what we call as cost-based pricing. Okay, cost-based pricing, that means we want to know how much basically the cost structure like this. And then we try to add, for example, like 50% on top of the cost. That's it. So that means it's very simple. So what you need to do, you need to know the what we call it, the total cost needed to produce the product, including everything, for example, in terms of the raw material, in terms of main labor cost, in terms of time, in terms of marketing. So after you measure this kind of things, so you actually you actually decide the price, okay, based on the profit margin, something like that. Okay, that's actually the first way. The second one is actually based on value-based pricing. Value-based pricing, for example, is totally based on how basically you want the product to be perceived at a certain value by the customers. Okay, for example, like sometimes it's actually beyond our kind of imagination, whereby some product they actually put a higher price because they want to actually use this kind of psychology. The higher the price, fine lah, let me check. I also listen some kind of disturbance. Let me mute all first. Okay, thank you very much. I also can listen some disturbance. Okay, is it more clear? Is it clearer right now? Okay, good. Okay, back to this kind of thing. Okay, some people, they simply put the price based on what value they want the customers to perceive towards their product. For example, generally, we might perceive the higher the price, the better the quality of the product. Am I right? Were you actually thinking the same thing? The higher the price, so that means the higher the value will be received by the customers. Am I right? Betul tak? Okay, so this is something that based on psychology. So this is we actually put as a value-based pricing. But there are another kind of approach or perhaps strategies where we want to put the price of our product, which is we call as competitive-based pricing. So that means we try to actually put the price by benchmarking, by looking at our competitors' price. Because we know that this is actually quite norm. Customers will make some kind of analysis, or perhaps they try to compare. Okay, how much basically the price of competitors' product and how much the product that you offer to them. Okay, so that's why for a competitive market, for example, like in automotive industry, they're going to put the price that almost similar. For example, like when we talk about phone, okay, so if you look, the price is quite similar. When we talk about car, okay, for example, like Toyota Vios, Honda City, and then Nissan Almera. What else? This is actually the sedan car produced by this automotive industry, automotive companies. So they're going to put the price, for example, like if we talk about Toyota Vios, okay, Honda City, Nissan Almera, what else? Mitsubishi bit pricing lah. Mitsubishi Lancer, for example. So the price more or less is quite competitive, okay, because they want to actually put a situation where the customers need to think first, need to actually consider which one that give more value to them. Okay, so setting the price, this is another aspect that we want to see. I mean, when we talk about the cost structure, that's actually the most basic one, because we want to make sure that whatever the price that we charge to the customers should actually give us the profit, okay, profitability. At least our costs will be covered by charging the customers. So that's why we want to see in terms of the fixed and variable costs. Normally like this lah, we actually need to see, okay. So if you look here, even though fixed cost is something that constant, regardless whether you make a production or not, regardless the quantity of the product, you still need to pay for the cost. Can you give an example of the fixed price when you actually produce a product? Guys, can you give any example of a fixed cost?
Production cost, Doctor?
No, production cost. Okay, production cost is very general, Faiz. When we talk production cost is still general. Okay. So can you elaborate more? Okay, for example, in the production, normally in production, normally we have like overhead costs, we have direct labors, we have direct materials. Okay, direct labor and direct material maybe is actually variable cost, but there should be another kind of what we call it fixed costs. When we talk about production cost, it's general, but it's production cost or perhaps manufacturing cost. That's actually comprised of many component of elements. Okay, so can you give a more specific example of a fixed cost? Anyone? Let me check. Utility is perhaps something that some of the utility is basically is changing, is variable, but some of the utility is actually constant. For example, if we're talking in terms of internet, okay, broadband, okay, for example, you actually subscribe to Unify, so that would be fixed cost. Am I right? Betul kan? Okay. But utility also might include electricity and water. Okay, when it comes to electricity, it's totally based on your consumptions. Okay, so what else? Rental is very true, Hazel. So rental basically fixed. Okay, regardless whether you actually produce many products or perhaps you produce minimal products, still you need to pay for the rental. Okay. For the equipment, okay, yes, equipment, if you actually buy it, okay, but it's actually not really what we call it. It can be considered as asset lah sebenarnya rather than expenditure. The cost of acquiring is actually cost because this is actually fixed cost. But again, we're not actually buying that every time, the equipment, okay. tax is totally variable for tax, unless if you're talking in terms of business license. Yes, okay, tax is normally it depends lah. Ada juga tax yang fixed, correct? But some of the business tax, corporate tax, for example, is variable. It's not fixed. Okay, it's depending on the number of sales or profit that you generate. For example, like in Malaysia, the corporate tax is actually 24%. Okay, of your profit, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, 24% based on the number of profit that you generated. Okay. Having said that, you must aware of this. So that's why the first thing first, when you want to measure in terms of the cost, first you need to know what basically the fixed cost, what basically the cost that considered as fixed, okay, fixed cost, okay, and then after that you try to actually make a formula whereby for every additional output that you produce, how much the cost will be incurred. Okay, that's actually variable cost. Like I mentioned just now, for example, when we talk about raw material, direct labor, so all of this considered as a variable cost. Okay, the more output that you produce, that means the more product you produce, okay, so that means that it's going to increase the cost. Okay. Okay, so that's actually we need to know. And then when we talk about that, there's another strategy whereby we call it as a bundling pricing strategy. Okay, so that means it's a good pricing strategy because it increases the company can charge on some components. It helps expand into the market, and then it's actually average over suppliers. And more importantly, it deters entry of provider of unbundled part of the product. Okay, if you look here, for example, people always have in mind, when you buy more products, so that means you will actually get discount. Am I right? Betul kan? Guys? You know, yes, so that's actually quite normal. For example, if you buy more, you will get discount. Okay. For example, if I actually observe during this kind of Ramadan, so like many hotel in Malaysia lah, particularly like macam in Johor, if you actually buy Ramadan buffet package like for 10 packs, okay, you will get additional 2 packs for free. That's actually bundle lah. So that means you actually take more. So in the hope that getting the discount. Okay, and then the customer have this kind of psychology. If you buy more, supposedly the price will be lesser. Am I right? Okay, for example, if you buy, siapa sini actually always drink apa nama dia? Apa yang minum? Yakult. Okay. Any one of you here basically or perhaps every day you drink Yakult? Do you know Yakult? Macam lagi Vitagen. Okay, Vitagen for example. Okay, so if you buy Vitagen drinks like one cup lah, 1 cup or one small bottle like that, the price might be increased, the price might be higher, okay? But sekarang kan the packs in 5 packs, okay? Normally how much for the 5 packs? It's about RM5 lah normally, okay? If you buy less sugar Vitagen or even Yakult, the price is actually lesser lah, the price is more, less sugar. Interestingly, this is quite interesting. Maybe someone can actually share with me why basically if you buy this kind of culture punya drink ni, kita panggil apa nama dia, so basically like Vitagen and Yakult ni, for example, if you buy less sugar, the price is higher. Why? Can anyone actually tell me why? Saya pun tak tahu kenapa. Because right now people are concerned about sugar intake. Okay, so these companies, they produce a Yakult or Vitagen with less sugar, but the price is higher. Do you know why?
Doctor, maybe because of the demand, because I think a lot of people want it nowadays because they are very health conscious.
Okay, we're going to, that's quite interesting because later I'm going to share with you, even like a company like Coca-Cola, they also have like Diet Coke or perhaps Zero Coke, but the price is similar. Okay, the price is similar, but when we talk about this company, okay, Yakult and Vitagen, why basically the price higher? Anyone? I know, maybe that's one of the reason, but I just actually want to know, is it any kind of scientific reason when they actually put less sugar? So is it the cost might be increased? Maybe lah Akmal. Okay, that's quite interesting point of view. Akmal said that the process is different because they need to change something with the production. Okay, maybe someone can chat with me lah. Nanti we're going to update why. Basically, when we want to buy Yakult or Vitagen with less sugar, so the price slightly higher. Higher is about 10% higher. For example, I think about 10% higher. For example, if you buy Yakult, it's about RM5 lah, the normal one for 5 bottles like that. But if you buy less sugar, it's about 550. It's about 10% difference. So why is actually slightly higher? So we can actually look into that lah. Okay, even when they're factoring all of this, I just continue. Okay, this thing into the price that is set, one has to be ready to dramatically change the pricing structure after one enter the market if the pricing is incorrect. Okay, sometimes when we talk about bundling strategy, this is another ways where the companies want to encourage more products bought over by the customers. For example, when we talk about Nivea, sometimes when we look into some of this package, I really do not need, for example, kalau tengok dekat sini, maybe they put like after shave punya cream, after shave cream. This is for men lah, after shave cream, for example. But not many people, basically, when they shave, they will definitely put the aftershave cream. I mean, I want to ask all the boys here, how frequent, basically, you shave your mustache, so on? How frequent? Guys?
Once a week, doctor, usually.
Once a week. Christopher once a month. Okay, so maybe it's depending on the progress of your hair lah. Okay, so someone said once in a month, okay, once a week. Okay, maybe some people they actually once in 3 days. Okay, but I just want to ask you, so how frequent basically for the boys, and how frequent basically you're going to use aftershave lotion or cream? Any one of you here? Or you never use it? Okay, that's very good point of view. You never use it, okay? Never use it. Okay, wait, give me 30 seconds. Okay, never use it. Yes, never use it. But certain people, they need to use it because some people, they have this kind of sensitive skin. Whenever they actually shave, okay, they actually might get some cut. Okay, so that's why they need to actually control this kind of sensitive skin by using that kind of aftershave balm. Okay, having said that, sometimes we do not really need that. Okay, when it's actually bundled, we might think that, oh, it's actually okay for them to buy it because it's actually cheaper. Okay, that's one of the strategies where many companies are doing that. Even the customers might perceive whenever they actually buy product in bulk, that means through bundling kind of things, strategy. So they're going to be charged lower price. Okay. So next part we're going to discuss about pricing. Okay, similar. I already discussed regarding this. And we go to the next part, market segmentation. I think this is quite important for us to know. Okay, whenever we want to market the product, we always need to consider who is our real target market. Okay, are we going to cater everybody, or we actually just focusing on a certain market, whereby in practical is not really what we call it efficient or effective when we want to cater everyone. Okay. This is the process of dividing a market into groups which have common needs. Okay, by understanding that we actually heterogeneous kind of people. That means our needs are totally different, even though maybe we're coming from similar background, we're coming from similar state. Okay, so our needs might be different based on the values, based on the family upbringing, based on your own kind of personality. Okay, as well as level of income. There are so many factors that need to be taken into consideration. We cannot just simply make assumption that everybody going to buy our product, which is wrong. Okay, So this is the normal ways of how we're going to segmentize the market. For example, based on demographic. Okay, this is the most common one. Okay, and then psychographic. Okay, based on personality and values, attitudes and activities. Okay, so guys, I just want to know what do you understand about the main difference between attitude and behavior? Apa you rasa? Is it similar or is different? Attitude and behavior. This is quick kind of question. Anyone? Do you know what basically the main difference between the attitude and behavior? Is it similar? Hello? Because we know that for us to segmentize the market, we need to see the attitude of our customers. So what basically you understand by the term attitudes and what basically is different than behavior? Arif Kurniawan? Do you have any idea, Arif?
Okay, doctor. Yeah, doctor. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think from my perspective, behavior is more continuously. I mean, it's repeatedly and everyday behavior, and attitude is more depend on situation.
Different situation. Okay, it's okay. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, Melissa Tahira.
Yes, doctor.
Did you copy my question? Do you get what basically the question that I want to ask you? Hello, Melissa. Kamu ngerti nggak soalan saya? Melissa? Or anyone? Anyone, what do you understand by the term of attitude and behavior?
Doctor, can I try, doctor?
Yes, please, Faik.
So technically in psychology, like an attitude is refer for like set of emotion, belief, and behavior, and then all these attitudes will be make a result and experience. At the end, they will making behavior because the attitude they've been doing. Like in
Yes. Thank you, Faik. Okay, thank you. Attitude is more like internal, the belief, the values. Okay, for example. Okay, so based on our attitude, it's going to be translated into our behavior. So attitude basically the main prediction for our behavior. For example, maybe you have the what we call it attitude and very concerns in terms of punctuality, in terms of the value, something like that. So having said that, it's going to be translated in terms of the behavior. So behavior basically the outcome of our attitude. That's the reason why when we want to study the consumer behavior, this is another subject. Like in marketing, there is a specific subject discussing about consumer behavior. And one of the key aspects that we want to look at is understanding the customer attitude. What value that they have, how basically the internal kind of perception or perspective of the customers. You got it? Okay. So at least you know about this lah. Okay, and then geographic and behavioral. Yes, even geographic, it's quite interesting. Like I always mention to you, like take an example, like Indonesia is a big country. Okay, with the population of 300, almost 370, is it? 380, 370 million. So it's a kind of big country. So even if you're coming from what similar country, but again, your attitude might be different. If you try to study those people in Lombok, those people in Bali, those people in Aceh, and those people in Sulawesi, it's totally different. Can anyone give what basically the different or Indonesian student here? Can you actually say what basically why is actually different in terms of what? Can anyone from Indonesia? Hello. My Indonesian students, can you give some kind of idea? Okay, what basically the main difference between the environment, the value of people, the demographic of people in Aceh and in Bali, for example? Kita ambil the example, boleh? Bisa enggak? Arif, kamu aslinya mana, Arif?
Saya Bandung, doktor.
Okay, Bandung. Okay, stay di situ. Okay, Arif Bandung. Kalau begitu, Chris, kamu? Jakarta. Melissa, aslinya kamu mana?
Cirebon, dokter. Cirebon.
Cirebon di mana ya?
East Java. West Java. I'm sorry.
West Java. Okay, so what do you think make different from Bandung, Jakarta, and Cirebon? Okay, West Java. What basically the main different? For example, Melissa, if you go to Bandung, is it any different? And tapi Bandung, Jakarta di pulau yang sama enggak? Kan?
Ya.
Nah, pulau sama. Ada tak from different island?
Jopi from Medan, doktor.
Joby from Medan Sumatera. Okay, Joby.
Yes,
Joby,
yes,
please.
doctor.
Okay, so is it any different between
Yes.
people from Medan and people from Bandung, from Cirebon? Is it any different from your own perspective? Hello.
Sorry.
Huh.
This is.
I'm going to get your feedback. We discussed about and then try to relate with the customer behavior. Is it any different?
Maybe people from Jakarta spend more maybe than people in Sumatra, because we're basically mostly in rural areas.
Okay, good point of view. What
Yes.
else? Okay,
And then
so yeah, that's very good point of view. Okay, but sometimes even though we actually coming from similar island, okay, for example, I just take an example of, I will take example of Peninsula Malaysia. Okay, someone from Johor, siapa sini yang bangsa Johor? Someone from Johor and someone from Kedah might be have different value, is it? Kedah, siapa Kedah? Anyone from Kedah? Kedah. Siapa orang Kedah? Siapa?
Iqbal.
Iqbal. So when you first come to Johor, apa benda yang you rasa pelik orang Johor ni? Pelik. Iqbal.
Ya, saya. Ya.
Iqbal and Atika, both of you from Kedah, is it? So when both of you come to Johor, okay, and observe Johorian, so what basically the different behavior of the customer in Johor? Apa you rasa different in Johor?
Customer.
Yeah, from customer behavior. For example, you try to observe those people in Kedah, and then you go here, you observe Johorian. So what basically can you share with me the different behavior?
Plastik bungkus dia ada tali.
Plastik bungkus ada tali, kat Kedah tak ada tali ke?
Betul. Kat Kedah tak ada.
Utara tak ada, doktor.
Tak ada tali.
Kami macam terkejut. Itu.
Dah nak cakap terkejut. Oh, plastik bungkus ada tali. That means when you want, okay. I'm quite surprised. I didn't realize this before. Okay, it's quite interesting. Okay, so that's actually we just want to share. Even though we coming from similar kind of country, but we might have some differences. So that's why by observing this kind of thing, you know how to segmentize the customer well. Okay, so we just go next. So when we talk about market segmentation, so it composed of customers, the cluster demand, market segmentation, the process of dividing market into group. I think we already discussed this. Market segmentation is particularly helpful when technology underlying the product or service is only effective in solving some customer problems. So that's why whenever you actually introduce a new product, not everybody going to value, going to accept, going to adopt your innovation. Okay, because people might have different kind of what we call it, understanding. Okay, the importance of the solution, for example, yang plastik ada tali. As simple as plastik ada tali. The plastic we apa panggil tali, with panggil apa? Saya dah see in my mind. That mean tying plastic with tali, what you call it, guys? I see in my mind. Okay, apalah plastik bertali, I just call it. Okay. I mean for you to easily package the what we call it, the plastic bag. Okay, so basically when we talk about this, so most probably it's more practical for people in Johor, but I'm not pretty sure why in Kedah you don't have that. That means you are using the getah lah, rubber to ikat, to tying the plastic bag, is it?
Yeah.
Terus ada delay. Okay, so that's actually for example lah. Okay, and then the important of solution that the company can provide varies across group of customers. Okay, so this is for example when we talk about shampoo. I want to give example of shampoo because every customer might have different kind of solution that they want. So that's the reason why you actually need to understand that, and then the organization lack the ability to serve all the customer at once. So that's the reason why we need to focus on a very niche market or certain market only. And more importantly, competitors respond differently to effort to sell different group of customers. Okay, so even the competitors also need to understand they're always actually targeting different customers or perhaps similar customers, but their approach might be different because they also want to compete with your company. Okay, so having said that, when we go to the next aspect, okay, when needs are unobservable, companies use profiler which are measurable dimension like demographic that are correlated with customer needs. Okay, sometimes we actually could not simply measure the values. Okay, something that totally not can be seen directly. So this is where companies will be used profilers. Okay, they try to look at a very simple kind of data. So from that, they try to use the data to market the product. And new firm benefit from market segmentation because they can avoid drawing the attention and direct competition. That's very true. So this is another way because we know that as for the big company or established companies, they already have targeting certain products. So by looking in terms of the strategy adopted by this big company, so the small companies will try to fill the gap. Okay, even though the gap is kind of small, yeah, but again, this is where they start to position themselves. Okay, so that's actually for example. Okay, this is the example that I want to give you. Macam Vitagen tadi lah, but this is actually Coca-Cola. If you look here, okay, you can see various of product. Okay, Coca-Cola, what they call it, classic. Okay, Coca-Cola Light and Coke Zero. So why Coca-Cola basically produce this product and how basically Coke segments the market? Anyone can actually give some what we call it reflection of this picture with regard to market segmentation? Anyone? Can I call Lutfi? You there, Lutfi? What can you translate by looking at this picture, Lutfi? Hello, Lutfi. Lutfi, are you there? Lutfi, calling for Lutfi. Okay, Wan Naziha. Calling for Wan Naziha. Yes. Wan Naziha.
Yeah.
What can you describe about this slide, Wan Naziha?
Semua jenama yang sama tapi dia pelbagaikan cita rasa. Mungkin customer suka yang manis dan tak ada gula langsung dan dia keluarkan pada masa yang sama lah tapi dia mengikut permintaan dan juga cita rasa yang pelanggan diorang nak.
Okay. Thank you. I want more opinions from the students. Can anyone give your feedback? Hello, I open to everyone. Who wants to
Doctor,
say anything? Yes,
yeah,
Hazel.
I can try. For Coca-Cola, the normal one maybe target the children and youngster because they are more sweet, and the light one is like more health conscious customer because they have lighter taste. So means they have different flavor, or is it the light one? I never drink, but the zero maybe can provide for maybe diabetics patient. They actually can feel the taste, but there's no sugar inside.
Okay, interesting. Okay, what else? Besides this kind of Coca-Cola, have you ever tasted any kind of special edition of Coca-Cola? Haven't you, Hazel?
No,
Okay.
I never.
There's another one, vanilla Coke, cherry Coke. Have you tried cherry Coke before? Anyone? Anyone pernah minum tak cherry Coke? No. Okay. I think this is kind of limited edition. Ada cherry Coke, and then ada vanilla Coke is quite norm. Okay. Those people want to taste vanilla flavors. Blackpink, Blackpink, I'm not pretty sure lah. They just put the Blackpink lah. But this is cherry Coke. That means it's sweet. And then you have you can taste the cherry flavors inside the Coke, cherry Coke. Okay. So having said that, but they actually make it like limited edition. So this is where they want to actually most probably offer some kind of different and increase the sale. So they make like a cherry Coke. But what we said and shared by Hazel is very true. I think Coca-Cola classic is because Coca-Cola, why I actually take Coca-Cola as an example, the company has been in existence more than 100 years. That is actually in the business more than 100 years. That means Coke is such an established company, and even this is one of the reputable brand in the world when we talk about Coke, because it's kind of well-established companies. But how make them survive? I believe that many companies try to imitate this kind of Coke drinks, okay, or beverage. For example, like the immediate competitor would be Pepsi, but there's so many other companies also produce Coke. Am I right? Like cola drink, we call it cola drink. So what actually made Coca-Cola still dominant? What do you think? Coca-Cola still actually dominated the cola drinks market. Even if you go to many shop, normally they're going to offer Coca-Cola. They have this kind of drink. Okay, anyone? Okay, tak apa lah. This is, we're going to discuss that later, but this is kind of very interesting market strategy lah, used by Coca-Cola. Okay, and definitely, okay, even though they just actually focusing on drink, but they also have this kind of technology lah, especially in food technology. Okay, how they actually preserve the flavors, okay, and how basically they try to come up with Coca-Cola Light, Coca-Cola Zero, and then they have Coca-Cola I couldn't remember, plus or something like that, whereby they have a vitamin inside the Coke. So that's actually how they produce it. Okay, so we actually go to the next part, which is the last part of this chapter, market research. This is very important. I believe that you've already been exposed to this kind of activity before. So why companies need to conduct this? This is something that normally overlooked by many companies. Okay, especially those companies that produce this kind of technology. Sometimes they unfortunately they actually overlook the importance of conducting market research. Okay, because whenever we want to develop a new product or solution to the customers, we want to make sure that it's meeting the needs of our customers. And how we're going to identify that? Definitely by conducting a market research. Okay, so even for example, in the beginning of our business, for example, if you want to prepare the business plan, the BMC, business model canvas, for example, we also actually need to conduct market research. Okay, for instance, we want to know what values that we're going to offer to the customers and the customer segment. We need to conduct a market research. We want to make sure that our customers basically accurately identified by us. For example, at what age, from what age, okay, and then the income level, and then in terms of the values or attitude, for example. So that's why market research is very important, not only for us to what we call it, develop the product, but more importantly, we want to understand the customer better. Okay, and then so as mentioned to you, identify potential customers and market segment. Okay, And then secondly, is specify the product features that the customer prefer, factors that influence customer purchasing decision. For example, what make customer want to buy your product over competitors' product. And they provide information about attractiveness of the market, its size and growth. This is another important aspect, because we also, when we want to develop this kind of technology, we also need to understand the dynamic progress of our customers. Okay, our customers definitely going to change from one what we call it behavior to another behavior. Okay, for example, when we talk about because Raya is coming next week, okay, Idul Fitri coming next week. For example, when we talk about Baju Raya, okay, Baju Raya, can anyone tell me the what is basically, I want to know. Saya tak beli baju raya lagi, by the way, and indeed PKP being enforced. RMO, okay, for those who are not aware, especially my Indonesian students, RMO 3.0 happen again, okay, in certain state in Malaysia, and for example like in Johor, by tomorrow we start RMO, tak boleh keluar. We cannot actually go to the restaurant, having what we call it breaking fast at the restaurant. No, everything is again takeaway only. Okay, so by the way, can anyone actually share with me, especially those Muslim student, apa yang current trend baju raya sekarang ni? Baju kurung ke, baju raya ke? Anyone? Please share with me. Anyone about the different trend of baju raya or baju kurung or any kind of things? Ada tak? Dah beli baju raya ke belum? Have you bought your baju raya?
Yes, doktor, sudah.
Siapa yang sudah tu?
Faik, doktor.
Oh, Faik. Okay, Faik. So, tapi baju raya you pakai baju apa baju raya?
Baju kurung.
Baju kurung.
Astagfirullah, baju Melayu.
Pakai baju kurung, Faik. Betul, Faik.
Melayu, doktor.
So, awak pakai baju Melayu sama macam orang Melayu lah?
Yes.
Faik, awak aslinya mana, Faik?
Tanjung Balai, Karimun, doktor.
Oh, Tanjung Balai. So, pakai baju macam ada samping semualah?
Batam.
Okay, ada samping semualah?
Ya.
Okay. Faiz tak beli lagi, Iqbal tak beli. Siapa yang lain? I just want to know, okay, lelaki normal. Saya akan beli malam raya atau 2 hari sebelum raya. It's quite normal for me. Saya beli nak sometime malam raya basuh terus iron. Okay. So that's quite norm. But for the girls ni kan ada 3-4 pasang. Okay. 3-4 pasang mak dah belikan first raya. Okay. Okay, perempuan. Okay, for the girls, baju raya you beli apa? I just want to know what's basically the current fashion of baju raya ni. Can anyone, for example, like, okay, I can see like dekat for Malay, for the boys, dia sekarang ni trend dia macam slim fit, correct? Slim fit lah, and then apa lagi? Macam-macam lah. Okay, slim fit, correct. Okay, lili petua. Apa tu lili petua? Lili petua apa tu? Kebarung. Atika pakai kebarung. Baju Melayu Sado. Anissa, bulan bintang. What is bulan bintang? Oh, Lili Petuna tu brand. I'm so sorry. Kebaya modern. Okay, that's actually the trend. Okay, so even if you want to actually go into the business, you need to actually do this kind of thing because you want to see how it's growing. But people are going to say that fashion is actually a business actually. Okay, for example, when we talk about baju Melayu, okay, I discuss among my friend lah. For example, okay, I just want to know what is actually the normal price or the common price for baju Melayu? Anyone? Arif, Faiz, Lutfi, okay, yang Malay lah especially. Faiz, yang perempuan ni kalau tahu. Arfan, Akmal, what is actually the normal price for baju Melayu? 100, correct? Okay, 150 dekat Jekyll. Okay, correct. Yelah, sekarang ni dia mahal balik lah, 150 sebab dia ada Aaron Aziz, dia ada Nabil, dia ada Syukri punya baju Melayu. Yes, the normal 100 because for example, So for example, if you actually go to Teller, you customize your baju Melayu. So even the upah alone, like in Johor, the upah that mean the service charge for the tailoring service is about 80 to 100 ringgit. That's actually for the service charge, not actually the price of you buying the fabric. So that means if you actually want to go for tailoring service, like in Johor Bahru particularly, the tailoring charge is quite expensive. Rather than, for example, I believe that if you go to for example, to Batu Pahat, okay, to Batu Pahat, the price might be cheaper. You can simply get 50 ringgit for the tailoring service. Okay, so having said that, for me, the most affordable one is about 100. But there's another baju Melayu. For example, this year, Rizman Ruzaini, they launched this kind of baju Melayu. You tahu Rizman Ruzaini? Do you know Rizman Ruzaini? I mean, for Malaysian, do you know Rizman Ruzaini? Yes, Anissa. Apa yang tahu pasal Rizman Ruzaini? Okay, so he's actually, this company, which is Rizman and Ruzaini, they are designers. Okay, for example, they design the clothes, many of the clothes by Siti Nurhaliza, and then all the top celebrity designed by Rizman Ruzaini. Okay, so for example, this year they actually coming out with the kind of baju Melayu. Do you know how much the price for Rizman Ruzaini baju Melayu? Okay, tak apalah, you tak tahu, 400 ringgit. Okay, 400 ringgit. Okay, Rizman Ruzaini. Yang ada bear, tak ada bear. Dia Rizman Ruzaini, dia bentuk RR. Okay, the branding for Rizman Ruzaini R and R. R and R. Terbalik R. Okay, so basically the price of 400 ringgit. So they put a very higher price, but they make it limited. For example, it's already sold out. So that means, for example, there is another company, for example, like Era, what else? Jenama baju Melayu. I couldn't remember. Kaca, there's another one. Katam. So this is actually the trending baju Melayu brand in Malaysia, which is, you can simply find the non-branded one lah. But this is the branded one. 5 waktu, correct. 5 waktu more kurta sebenarnya Faiz. I'm not pretty sure kalau dia ada baju Melayu. Ada kot. Okay, Katam, apa lagi. So they have this kind of baju Melayu. But the baju Melayu sold by these companies is just about not more than 200 ringgit. Okay, or the highest 200 plus. But Rizman Ruzaini baju Melayu is about 400 ringgit, which is double or triple than the normal brand. So why do you think that they put is very expensive? Why? Kenapa you rasa dia letak expensive? The cost would be similar. Am I right? This is actually the fabric would be similar. So this is where they want to make it more branding one part, but they want to make it more exclusive. Correct, Faiz. Okay. So that's why they actually make like a limited brand. I think in terms of quality kain sebenarnya, macam saya, let me be frank with you. Saya beli baju Melayu dekat Kota Tinggi, dekat kedai Kemboja. There is like, we call it kedai Kemboja, which is the price of that baju Melayu RM80, RM70. Okay. So basically the fabric is kind of quality as well, but most probably they don't have the brand. But this is when we talk about how they put the price. So kita dah belajarkan sebelum ni, whereby this company they put this kind of skimming price simply because they actually want to increase the exclusiveness. And at the same time, they can actually gain profit. They do not need to actually sell 2 or 3 clothes. They just simply sell one clothes with this kind of established brand, and people want to buy it. Whoever that actually wearing this kind of Rizman Ruzaini, definitely they will think that, oh, okay, it's kind of exclusive. That's why many of people, especially celebrity, going to buy this product lah. Okay. Okay, so we just actually go next. Okay, so this is market research planning. I think more or less we know how basically we're going to connect that through primary research as well as secondary research. That means kita panggil data primer, okay, and then data secundar, that's actually in Malay. But that means primary research, that means you directly collect the data from your respondent or participant. Meanwhile, second data, that means you just actually get information from the report, for example, from others. Okay, and we can also use both qualitative and quantitative analysis. So before we go there, we also need to take into consideration the newness of market research. Okay, so the effectiveness of many market research techniques rests on three assumptions. First, potential customer understand their own needs and preferences. Okay, but sometimes there are customers that do not aware of what they need. Okay, especially when it comes to trends. Sometimes like baju Melayu. Sebenarnya for me lah, from one baju Melayu to another baju Melayu, what makes it different? Kalau baju kurung, for example, if we talking in terms of baju kurung, yes, I can see the main different, letak lah boci lah, letak apa lagi, lace lah, letak fabric lah, lapis-lapis lah, and then design dia, and then but baju Melayu. So what do you think that make baju Melayu different, guys? Do you know baju Melayu? Ni for Indonesian student, you tahu kan baju Melayu? Sabah, do you know baju Melayu?
Yes, doctor. The one which the Malaysian boys wear.
Okay. So I just want to know what make one baju Melayu different than another baju Melayu. And this is for those who baik. Okay, contoh Faiz, apa you rasa different to Faiz? Iqbal.
Yeah.
What make one baju Melayu different than another baju Melayu? Hey, hello?
The kain.
What? The kain? Johor, correct. Thank you very much, Hani. Okay, Johor have a unique kind of baju Melayu based on the collar. Okay, we actually simply call the collar as teluk belanga. Okay, but baju Melayu, if you actually read from the philosophy part, have you ever wondered why we supposedly have 5 buttons for baju Melayu? Do you know the philosophy behind that? The cekak musangwan. Why is actually should be 5 buttons? Do you know? Anyone know the philosophy behind that? Tahu tak? Not sure. Okay, based on the study conducted by one of the researchers from UPSI lah sebenarnya, dia keluarkan this kind of what we call it finding of the history of traditional costume of Malay lah. So basically for baju Melayu, the reason why we actually putting 5 kind of buttons because it's representing the 5 principles of Islam. So that's actually why they put 5 buttons. Normally the ideal number of buttons should be 5. So that's why after this kalau you pakailah 5. That's actually symbols. Okay, and then another 3 dia cakap dia juga ada philosophy behind 3. Dia takkan letak 2 tau normally. Baju Melayu tak ada 2, tak ada 4. Dia mesti ganjil. Okay, and then for example 3 button is actually to represent the principle of Islam, Iman and Ihsan. That's actually from the red. And white teluk belanga is actually representing to the concept of one God. Okay, Allah the only one, something like that. Okay, so that's actually the philosophy behind all those baju Melayu. Okay, similarly the way we actually wearing samping. Okay, so for those who are not married yet, your samping should be dia atas lutut bawah lutut. You know, do you know that when you actually wearing something, there's some kind of principle because that's actually a status. Okay, for those who actually have married, so normally they will put the symbol they need to wearing that something, or perhaps some of you, I mean, I believe that this is the unique part. Okay, so if you go to Western country, you're wearing baju Melayu, people are going to say that you're wearing clothes with mini skirt. Am I right? Okay, it's like a mini skirt for baju for something lah. Okay, but that's actually a symbol why we actually wearing bawah lutut atas lutut is actually representing our marital status. And by looking at that, supposedly we know whether that guy already married or not by looking at the samping sebenarnya. Okay, but many people are basically, especially young generation like us, saya pun young juga, okay, basically do not know this kind of philosophy. Okay, so that's actually dia punya apa namanya selingan for today's class, nak raya kan. Okay, so basically so you need to conduct this and some of the techniques for the new to the world as well as less novel product. So there's some kind of things perhaps you need to consider whenever you want to choose this kind of technique. Okay, for example, when we talk about less novel, you can simply make a analysis. So how are you going to do that? Okay, so by conducting focus group and survey, that means it's something that already you know about it, but you want to get more information. Okay, so this is actually what we call it. The reason why you need to know about the nature of that product, whether it's new or whether it's actually less novel. If the product is new to the world, so this is where you need to use this kind of inductive reasoning. Okay, you want to know more. You know, you wanted to explore many kind of aspects. So this is where you're going to use lead user method, Delphi technique, as well as ethnographic. I'm not going to focus on group and survey because I believe that you know about this. Survey, basically you conduct like a survey, you just distribute the survey to the respondent. Focus group basically like an interview, but it's conducted in a group. For example, you want to actually study the reason why people not comply with SOP during COVID, for example. So you actually interview those people, 5 people from rural, 5 people from urban, 5 people from semi-urban. So this is the focus group. So you want to get the consensus from the group members. But here I'm going today, saya akan habiskan yang ni, lead user method, Delphi technique and ethnographic. At least you get some kind of knowledge, what make it different and why it's very important for you to conduct, especially when your product or innovation new to the world. Okay, so newness to the market, I want to keep this. Okay, this is ethnographic. Ethnographic, I mean, you try to put yourself as a customer. You try to immerse, observing customers and users interacting with the product, system, people and features of the environment out in the real world is a great way to build empathy and identify opportunities for innovation. For example, so this is where you try to actually be like a customer. Up to the level, we actually using this kind of technique called shadowing technique. That means we try to observe the daily life or routine of our customers. We observe them the moment they wake up until they sleep, for example. Okay, or perhaps if you want to actually, for example, if you want to what we call it, to introduce like smartwatch, okay, whereby smartwatch is something that's going to be used by your customers. Am I right? So you need to know about their needs and daily life routine. So that's the reason why you need to observe them, not only asking them, but you also observe them what basically the routine that they did, okay, and then their ways of using his watch, for example. So by observing, so by using this kind of ethnography, so you're actually going to learn the needs and preferences of your customers, okay, whereby it's not simply can be get or obtain by distributing surveys. That's why you are using consumer ethnographic. Faham ke tak consumer ethnographic ni? Guys, do you understand? Okay, thank you very much for the feedback. Okay, we go next. Okay, so lead user method. This is another way. So normally people going to say that the main important finding they will get simply from the unhappy customers, not from the happy customers. Because why you need to approach the unhappy customer, you will know why they actually unhappy with your product, and by getting the feedback, definitely you're going to improve whatever the weakness that you have. Okay, so this is a way to develop truly new product or services by gathering information of people who are so unhappy with the existing product that they're trying to come up with a new solution. Okay, so for example, we are talking in terms of people are very concerned in terms of the harmful effect of our car right now, okay, to the environment. So people are unhappy with that. Okay, some people maybe in Malaysia saya tak jumpa lagi lah, but I met several people dulu which is in overseas. Basically they don't have car at all, even though my lecturer lah, basically dia tak ada kereta. Could you imagine someone yang lecturer tak ada kereta? For us macam tak ada kereta lah, macam but he simply said that he doesn't need car. Okay, and the car is actually hard to maintain and then bring harm to the environment, and he just actually commute to the work by actually cycling. You faham tak? Dia naik basikal pergi kerja. Could you imagine? Okay, a professor go to the office by actually naik basikal. You pernah jumpa tak dekat Malaysia macam gitu? I want to ask you. Dan dia tak ada kereta. Could you imagine that? Okay, So kenapa you rasa macam itu? Because the value and then another part because the ecosystem, the infrastructure. For example, dia naik basikal dari rumah dia pergi ke train, it's quite a norm. Kalau you naik train dekat overseas, you akan nampak diorang bawa basikal masuk ke dalam train. Dan ada train yang boleh bawa basikal. So akan naik train and then sampai ke train station, dia sambung naik basikal balik. That's actually how it works lah sebenarnya, okay? And then the public transportation is quite efficient and then the weather is quite friendly as well. That means sejuk, okay, for example. Okay, but even during summer pun dia naik basikal juga, okay? So having said that, so this is something that we need to approach those customers why they are unhappy with our product. So by having this kind of lead user method, so at least you get the what we call it the voice of customers. So from that you're going to improve whatever, or you're going to produce a new solution for these customers. Okay, so this is what we call as lead users method. So and then another one is actually focus group. I think saya dah saya tak boleh terangkan banyak. Cuma focus group saya dah terangkan indirectly. Basically in a group interview. But there's some limitation. I forget to what we call it, to share the limitation. Relatively expensive for information provided. That means you need to get it everyone. But right now it's actually getting less expensive because you can simply use online. Okay, ada juga focus group discussion. Like last time I actually conducted focus group discussion among those majikan online, the employers. But the challenge is it's very difficult to conduct online when it comes to focus group discussion. Okay, data is really independent of the views of other group members. So that means sometimes people is actually need to conform, need to follow the majority views, and it's very hard to get consensus. And sometimes during this kind of focus group discussion, one or two people become dominant members, so they always want their voice to be heard. They always actually they not really consider about other people's views, and it's very challenging if you actually want to conduct this and someone is very dominant. They don't want to listen to other people's views, okay? And then it's often difficult to assemble a focus group track because sometimes what we call it, the date, the time is not really suitable for them. Okay, survey research saya tak payah terangkan, awak dah faham. And then we also need to look into the consideration new and established business whenever we want to get the data, because if you look here, established companies might have more advantage when the customer preference are known. But when the customer's preference is not known, so this is where everybody actually can move faster, especially for the small companies. Okay, so that's the reason why whenever the pandemic COVID-19 happens, so many of small businesses actually come into the picture because they say that this is something uncertain. Even big companies also do not know how to react. Okay, so a lot of businesses come into picture previously lah when it comes to this. Okay, so this is the advantages and disadvantages. If you look here, ethnography, lead users method, focus group, and survey, they have this kind of advantages. For example, like ethnography, get information when customer cannot articulate their needs. However, the disadvantages, if you look here, takes a lot of time and requires special skill. Definitely, it's not really easy for you to doing this kind of observation. And the highest part of observation, basically, you need to shadowing their kind of life, as well as you try to immerse yourself in other people's situation. Okay, for example, I believe last time I already advised you to watch Batman. Remember tak last siapa yang attend my class last semester, I asked you to watch Batman. Did you watch it? Okay, guys. Hello. Did you watch
Yes, doctor.
So if you see that, okay, he actually wanted to produce a product, sanitary pad for girls. So for him to internalize, for him to immerse himself for that product, he actually need to feel like what other people is basically felt. Okay, so this is where it takes a lot of time and effort sebenarnya to do that. Okay, lead users method, advantages as we know, get information from the customers, but the disadvantages focuses on the need of a very select part of the market. That means you just focus, like I mentioned just now, for the lead users method, you try to focus your approach only to those who are unhappy with the existing solution or product. Okay, so I think focus group kita dah terangkan. Survey research, this is disadvantages of conducting survey. People may be unable or unwilling to answer and might not act in the ways they saw they will. Okay, for example, when you conduct survey research, okay, whereby you're going to conduct your PSM kan next semester or at end of this semester. Okay, you're going to distribute the survey. Okay, you must remember sometimes what actually be perceived strongly agree and disagree, neither agree and disagree, it might be different from other people. Betul tak? Am I right? Whether you perceive strongly agree or agree is totally different. Am I right? Okay, for example, if I'm asking you right now, okay, you conduct a survey. Okay, you will conduct a survey and people actually asking about satisfaction, for example, how satisfied of you towards a certain service. So, for example, the service, what we call it, the customer service, in terms of the product, you put the rating. That's actually the common way. Macam Batman, people put the rating, right? It's totally subjective, okay? But but not many things basically can be measured through numbers. I always actually telling my students, okay, it's okay for you to conduct quantitative research. Yes, you can actually get some kind of indicators of something, of some views, but not everything is actually could be simply translated through numbers. For example, if you look in terms of if I'm asking you right now, okay, from scale 1 to 10, how much will you rate? Semua saya nak semua jawab, semua jawab dalam ni. Saya nak semua jawab. Everybody listen to me. So this is a very big question. Okay, listen this question. I want everybody to answer this on the chat comment. Boleh? Go to the chat comment, be ready to answer this question, everybody. Okay, so right now I want to actually give some kind of rate. Okay, from scale 1 until scale 10, how much your love towards your parents? So give the scale. I want everybody to answer it right now. Daripada skala 1 sampai skala 10, how much will you rate your love towards your parents from scale 1 until scale 10? Okay, Zanita say 10, huh? Okay. Melissa? Arfan, 10. Arifuna, everybody please give the scale. Ada 9.5 pula. Okay, 7. Kenapa 7? Your love. Kasih sayang awak kepada mak ayah. Berapa awak letak? Okay. Okay, berapa awak letak? Semua cepat. Ada 9.5. Okay, ada kata 7, ada kata 9. Okay, tak apa. I respect that. Okay. Okay. Anyone? Oh, korang ni saya nak semua banding. Okay. Faiz sudah, Chris sudah. Yang lain mana? Kita ada almost, saya nak tahu. Ada lagi? Guys? Zanita, sudah ke belum? Wan Naziha belah, sudah belum? Jopi sudah letak? I want to know. Okay guys, okay. Secara literalnya, yes. You might actually put 10. Okay, but the thing is, majority of us going to say this actually cannot be measured by numbers, everyone. Okay, your love towards your parents. Okay, this is the Ramadan message. Okay, social message. Your love towards parents is actually cannot be measured towards numbers, towards this kind of scale. Okay. I'm going to say, I'm getting older, everyone. So at my age, I'm going to say it's actually limitless. It's actually beyond the number. It's totally infinity. How many of you here will agree with me? Your love toward your parent, the level of your love to your parents should be infinity. Okay? So it's actually beyond the numbers. Okay? But I actually, what we call it, acknowledge, okay, ataupun I actually celebrate those views, say that it's not 10/10, it's not, some of you say 9/7, because some people maybe they have some kind of what we call it history towards their parents. Saya ada kawan juga, bila we talking in term of this, dia tak nak balik raya dekat rumah, this quite norm lah, especially nanti you dah kahwin, kalau you dah kahwin, my friend ada juga yang have this kind of family conflicts. Okay, that's quite norm. Macam you tengok cerita you tengok kan, tak semua orang actually have this kind of, but normally yes, we actually will love our parents in our entire heart. Contohnya, saya tak nafikan at your age sometimes you might have some kind of conflicts with your parents, okay? But believe me, when you're getting older, you actually would understand why your parents react like that, okay? The normal parent react like that. For example, semua orang bercakap, dia tak rasa pengorbanan ibu selagi mana dia belum berkahwin dan melahirkan anak. Itu contohnya. Jadi bila orang tu dah, if they get married and then pregnant, deliver babies and then raise their own kids, so this is where they start to actually appreciate all the sacrifice made by their parents. Okay, so that's something yang I believe you actually may appreciate lah, especially kalau you still have parents. I just want to know, Nila, sometimes I actually overlook. How many of you here yang dah tak ada mak ayah? I just want to know. Siapa di sini yang you already lost your parents here? Can you share with me here? If share, I just want to know. Siapa sini yang mak ayah dia dah tak ada? Maybe you boleh sebut mak saya dah tak ada, or ayah you dah tak ada. Can I know? Anyone?
Saya.
Atika?
Abah dah tak ada. Mak aja ada.
Okay, Atika, abah bila tak ada tu? Bila arwah abah meninggal?
2008.
Oh, masih sekolah menengah lagi lah.
Ya.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry to hear that. Okay, siapa lagi? Atika, adik-adik berapa orang?
4 orang.
Atika nak nombor berapa?
Nombor 2.
Okay. 2008 berapa mu Atika time tu?
Darjah 4.
Oh, darjah 4. Okay, thank you Atika. Sorry to hear that. Okay. So mak sekarang tak kahwin baru lah?
Mak kahwin baru masa umur saya 18.
Oh, okay. So maksudnya darjah 4 lepas 8 tahun lah. Tak apalah, mak awak perlukan someone. Okay. Okay, siapa lagi yang mak ayah dah tak ada? Boleh tak saya tahu any one of you here basically have lost your parents, your ni Faiz dah tak ada mak. Okay, tinggal ayah je. Siapa lagi? Anyone? This is outside of class. I just want to know lah. Okay. Okay, so those yang ada, that's why saya nak cakap kat yang siapa yang masih ada parents, you patut bersyukur. Okay. You actually should appreciate all the time that you have with your parents. Okay. Boleh? Janji dengan saya. Okay, respect your parents. Sometimes yes, sometimes kita ada argument lah, but when you actually getting older, you might understand why they actually react like that. Okay. Similarly, saya pun sama macam case Atika. I lost my father when I was at secondary school lah, tapi macam Atika lagi kecil lah, masih darjah 4. Saya tingkatan 5. I lost my parents. I lost my fathers. Okay, and then my father passed away 21 years ago. 21 tahun yang lepas, boleh kira umur saya berapa. Okay, so basically ayah saya pun dah meninggal. So basically that's actually Atika, trust me, you will make you stronger. Saya banyaklah cerita kat you all. You actually appreciate whatever sacrifices that made by your parents. Please. Okay, this is something yang you kena buat as a kid. That's actually your obligation. Sometimes kita memang ada benda tak setuju dengan mak ayah kita. Maybe the values that we have different. Kita membesar, contohnya you pergi asrama and then you actually being surrounded by different environment, and maybe your parents surrounded by different environments. This might be different. Okay, in terms of sometimes banyaklah differences might happen, but again, as long as the instruction or the request made by your parents is not against the religious or community values, just try to actually please them since they're still alive lah. So that's actually my social message. Okay, my reminder to all of you, kepada adik-adik semua yang ada dekat sini. Boleh? Kalau kata boleh. Okay, bahagiakanlah mereka selagi mana dia hidup. Okay, bahagiakan mereka. Kalau dia dah tak ada, saya sebab pula. Tak ada, awak akan rasa kehilangan. Okay, so whenever they actually still alive, please appreciate your parents. I'm so sorry. Okay, even macam myself, 21 tahun, it's kind of like a long years already, but you still actually can still feel their love towards you. Okay, so please promise with me. Sorry. Please actually appreciate your parents lah. Okay, try to obey whenever they have and promise to yourself whenever you actually have a strong position, pay back whatever sacrifice they made lah. But definitely we cannot actually pay back the sacrifice. Boleh semua? Okay. I'm so sorry, but this is my reminder. Saya bukan nak berjaya je, everyone. I don't actually expect all of you to get A. A is such a bonus, but the most important part, you be a normal human, the one that actually managed to be an obedient kid lah. Boleh semua, guys? Okay. Semua dah nak raya. Macam saya, kenapa saya sebab because of tak boleh rentas negeri, and then my pusada arwah saya lah. That means saya tak boleh melawat kubur arwah saya. So that's the reason why I feel so sad lah. Okay, I think that's all, everyone. I'm so sorry, but this is my last message lah. At least during raya ni, try to spend quality time with your parents, and I believe that try to actually take this chance. Okay. I think semua sekali tu sahaja. We don't have class next week. I'm so sorry. Bila teringat this kind of thing. Okay. Next week we don't have class. Kita sambut Hari Raya. Be happy everyone. Be safe. And then in the meantime, saya nak mengucapkan selamat Hari Raya. Maaf lahir dan batin. Maaf lahir dan batin. I know that I always made a mistake. I'm so sorry towards you. And then saya akan cakap sorry nantilah towards the end of the class sama juga. Okay, but sementara peluang yang ada, I want to take the opportunity lah, okay, to wish you everybody Eid Mubarak, selamat Hari Raya, okay, and then happy holiday. So thank you everyone, and have a nice day. Have a nice Raya. Have a nice MCO Raya, okay. Thank you everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a nice day. Siapa yang belum scan, saya share semula. You may leave the session right now. Okay, thank you everyone. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, dokter.
No
Thank you,
worries.
dokter.
Thank you,
Selamat
dokter.
Hari Raya.
Thank you, dokter.
Okay, selamat raya semua.
Dokter, maaf dokter, boleh tanya tak dokter?
Ya.
Ini Faik nak tanya.